He just stood there, watching the movers empty his house. A single, crumpled eviction notice clutched in his hand. His face was a mask of disbelief, the same arrogant disbelief he wore every time he told a lie he expected me to swallow. What he didn't know was that for the last 2 years of his 5-year affair, I wasn't just crying myself to sleep. I was planning. People think betrayal is loud, a screaming match, a slammed door. But real betrayal is quiet. It's the hum of a second phone you never see. It's the scent of a perfume that isn't yours lingering on a collar. For 5 years, he thought he was getting away with it. He never guessed my goodbye would cost him everything. Let me tell you how it all started. Our story, like most that go up in flames, started like a fairy tale. I met Mark in our last year of college. He was charming and ambitious, with a smile that could talk anyone into anything. I was the quiet, studious one, the planner who saw the world in spreadsheets and 5-year goals. He told me I grounded him. I thought he gave me wings. For a while, we were the perfect team. He was the visionary, and I was the one who built the scaffolding to hold up his dreams. After graduation, we poured every dime and every waking hour into our shared dream, Markwell Properties. The name was his idea, a mashup of our identities, a symbol of our partnership. And at first, it was. We started small, flipping a single condo. I remember those days so clearly. Me, in paint-splattered overalls, managing the budget down to the last screw, while Mark charmed lenders and schmoozed real estate agents. He was brilliant at selling the vision. But the vision was hollow without the foundation I laid. I found the deals. I managed the contractors. I handled the mountains of paperwork that turned a wreck into a profitable asset. For the first 3 years, we were on fire. We ran on cheap coffee and the thrill of building something from nothing. Our tiny apartment was always buried in blueprints and projections. We were more than lovers. We were true partners. He'd come home smelling of sawdust and success, wrap me in his arms and say, "We're going to be rich, baby. You and me against the world." And I believed him. I loved the shared struggle, the feeling that we were creating a life together, brick by brick. As the business grew, so did our life. We swapped the tiny apartment for a beautiful house in the suburbs, the kind with a big kitchen we promised we'd fill with kids someday. Markwell Properties wasn't just flipping condos anymore. We were developing entire subdivisions. Mark became a local celebrity. His face was in magazines, his voice on the radio. But my name, the Well in Markwell, was nowhere. The company was in his name, a sole proprietorship. "It's just faster this way," he'd said. "Less paperwork. It's all ours anyway. What does it matter?" And I trusted him. That was my first and biggest mistake. I was so caught up in building our empire, I never stopped to read the fine print. I never imagined the man I was building it for was already planning to share it with someone else. Looking back, the end didn't start the day I found out. It started years earlier, with 1,000 tiny cuts. The signs were all there, like breadcrumbs leading to a truth I wasn't ready to see. It began with the late nights. At first, they made sense. Dinner with investors. He'd text. "Closing a deal. Don't wait up." I'd leave a plate for him in the oven that he rarely touched. Then, the late nights bled into weekends. Business retreats to cities we'd always talked about visiting together. He'd bring me back a cheap keychain and come home with a great tan. When I'd ask to see pictures, his phone would conveniently be dead, or he'd just show me a few boring shots of a conference room. Then came the financial fog. I used to manage every single dollar. But slowly, he pushed me out. When I'd ask about profit margins, he'd wave a dismissive hand. "Don't you worry your pretty little head about it," he'd say, knowing how much I hated that phrase. "I've got it under control. It's time for you to relax and enjoy the fruits of our labor." He sold it as a gift, him taking the burden off me. But it felt more like a locked door, He opened new bank accounts and hired a new accountant, a buddy of his, who never seemed to have any reports ready for me. The company I co-founded was now a black box. The intimacy, once the core of our relationship, just died. He'd come to bed late and turn his back to me, sighing if I tried to get close. He blamed stress, the pressure of the business. He started telling our friends, "She's been so anxious lately. So emotional." He was painting a picture, laying the groundwork for a story where I was the unstable one. He was gaslighting me so well, I started to believe him. Was I going crazy? Was I being paranoid? Was this just what long-term relationships turn into? The last sign was just pure carelessness. He smelled different. Not just of another woman's perfume, but of a whole other life. He bought expensive new clothes I never saw him wear. He developed a taste for fancy scotch from a bar he claimed he'd never visited. He was living a double life so brazenly, it was an insult. He wasn't just cheating. He was showing off that he thought I was too stupid or too weak to notice. He forgot I was the one who built the house he was playing in. And what I can build, I can also tear down. The moment of truth wasn't an explosion. It was a cold, quiet click. The last piece of a puzzle falling into place. It was a Tuesday afternoon. Mark was supposedly on a 2-day site visit a few hours away. I was trying to make sense of our personal accounts when an email popped up on our shared tablet. It was from our travel insurance company. My heart started pounding. It was a policy confirmation for a couple's getaway package to a luxury spa resort for the upcoming weekend. The names on the policy, Mark Well and Amber. Amber. The name hit me like a punch to the gut. Amber was his new star agent at the office, a younger, flashier version of the women he always hired. "Amber's a real shark," he'd say. "I'm taking her to the developer's dinner to show her the ropes." I'd met her once. She shook my hand too firmly, her eyes scanning me like I was a cheap property not worth the investment. My hands were shaking, but a strange, chilling calm washed over me. This was it. The late nights, the secret accounts, the distance. It wasn't in my head. I wasn't crazy. I was being betrayed. For a second, I wanted to smash the tablet against the wall, to call him and scream, to just pack a bag and run. But then another thought, cold and sharp, cut through the rage. Leaving wasn't enough. Walking away felt like letting him win. He'd spent years lying, gaslighting me, and using the money I earned to fund his secret life. A simple exit wasn't enough. He deserved consequences. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in the dark of our home office and I started digging. His password pathetically was her name and birthday, Amber 1026. Inside his personal email was a 5-year saga of deceit. This wasn't a new affair. It had been going on almost since we'd become successful. There were hundreds of pictures. Mark and Amber in Paris on a trip he called a solo business venture. Mark and Amber at a Michelin star restaurant he told me was overpriced when I suggested it for our anniversary. There were hotel receipts, credit card statements for jewelry I never got, and a lease for a luxury apartment I never knew existed. It was a meticulously documented history of how he had siphoned money from our company, my sweat, my dreams to build a second life. He wasn't just cheating, he was embezzling. He was stealing my future. As the sun came up, I didn't feel broken anymore. The pain was there, a hard knot in my stomach, but it was being eclipsed by a cold, all-consuming fury. He hadn't just broken my heart, he had insulted my intelligence. He thought he was the mastermind. He was about to find out how wrong he was. The next 2 years were the hardest of my life. I lived a double life, playing the part of the devoted wife while a storm of vengeance brewed inside me. Every smile, every dinner, every nod to his fake stories about work stress was an Oscar-worthy performance. He thought he was a master manipulator, but he was an amateur compared to the woman I was becoming. The day after, I didn't call a divorce lawyer. I called a forensic accountant. Harris was a quiet, older man whose eyes missed nothing. In his drab office, I laid out the story, not with tears but with facts. I had the printed emails, the secret statements, and the early business plans I wrote. I even had proof of the seed money from my own inheritance that I'd used to start the company. Harris listened. When I finished, he looked at me over his glasses and said, "He thinks he's covered his tracks. But they always leave a trail. Embezzlers are arrogant. That's how we catch them." For the first time in months, I felt a flicker of hope. Harris became my silent partner in crime. He taught me what to look for. I became an archaeologist of our finances. While Mark was out with Amber, I was in his office with a copied key, scanning documents and photographing records. I found the shell corporations he'd set up to buy properties, with Amber listed as a silent partner. I found the inflated invoices from fake vendors that funneled cash right into his personal slush fund. He was bleeding the company dry to finance their side ventures. The pain was constant. There were nights I'd lie next to him, his breathing a steady rhythm of betrayal, and have to bite my lip to keep from screaming. Seeing him so carefree, knowing he was using my work to fund it all, was a special kind of hell. But every piece of evidence I found hardened my resolve. The pain turned into power. This wasn't just about a broken heart anymore. This was about justice. 6 months before I pulled the trigger, I found the perfect lawyer, not a family lawyer, a corporate litigator. A shark named Diana. I didn't give her a sob story, I gave her a business proposition. I handed her a thick, color-coded binder detailing every instance of fraud and embezzlement, all cross-referenced by Harris. Diana flipped through it in silence. After 20 minutes, she closed it, looked me straight in the eye, and a slow, predatory smile spread across her face. "Most women want to take their husbands to the cleaners," she said. "You, my dear, have brought me the blueprints to the entire laundromat. He won't just be broke. He'll be lucky if he can afford a bus ticket out of town." The plan was set. We wouldn't file for divorce. We would strike at the heart of his empire, the cash flow. We'd use the fraud evidence to get an emergency court order to freeze the business accounts and place the company under my temporary control. The house, technically a corporate asset, would be part of that seizure. My name wasn't on the main deed, but my mountain of evidence proved it was a contested marital and business asset. The countdown had begun. The day I chose was a Thursday, the day before he and Amber were supposed to leave for their couple's getaway. That morning, he was practically humming, exuding the smugness of a man who thinks he has it all. He kissed me goodbye, a quick peck on the cheek. "Don't do anything I wouldn't do," he winked. The irony was suffocating. "Don't worry," I said. "I won't." The second his car was gone, my team moved in. Diana had a process server and 2 sheriff's deputies meet me at the Markwell Properties office. I walked in, not as Mark's wife, but as the woman reclaiming her empire. Mark was in his glass office, laughing on the phone with his feet on the desk. He saw me and his smile faltered, replaced by irritation. He waved me off, an "I'm busy" gesture. I just stood in the doorway and waited. "Markwell?" The server's voice boomed. Mark hung up. "Yes? What is this?" The server dropped a thick stack of documents on his polished desk. "You've been served." Mark actually laughed. "Is this a joke? Who's suing me now?" He picked up the top page. I watched the color drain from his face, the smirk melting into slack-jawed horror as he read the emergency court order. The one freezing his accounts, the one giving me control of the company, the one naming him in a civil fraud suit. He looked up at me, his eyes wide. "What is this? What did you do?" "I believe the legal term is protecting my assets," I said coolly. "Our assets?" He sputtered. "This is my company." "Is it?" I asked softly. I seem to remember painting the walls of our first flip myself. I remember negotiating with the first lender because you were too scared. This company was built on my back, Mark. and you used it as your personal piggy bank for your affair." He looked around, suddenly realizing his entire staff was watching. Panic set in. "We'll talk about this at home," he hissed. And that's when I delivered the final blow. "What home?" I asked. "The house is a corporate asset, and since the court just put me in charge of the corporation, you're trespassing." Just like the eviction notice being taped to the front door right now explains. He just stared, speechless. The man who always had an answer had nothing. I turned to leave, but stopped. "Oh, and Mark," I said. "Amber's partnership shares? They were funded with embezzled marital assets. My lawyer is confident they'll be clawed back. So not only are you broke, but you just made her broke too. Have a nice flight." I walked out without looking back, leaving him in the ruins of the life he built on my trust. The quiet war was over. I had won. The next few months were a blur of legal and financial restructuring. Mark's downfall was spectacular. Without the cash flow from Markwell Properties, his house of cards collapsed. The speculative projects he and Amber started, leveraged to the hilt, folded. Lenders called in their loans. The fancy car was repossessed. The downtown love nest was emptied. Within 6 months, he declared bankruptcy. The man from the business magazines was now a cautionary tale. Amber, facing her own financial ruin, vanished. Her loyalty was only as deep as his wallet. I, on the other hand, was thriving. Taking control of Markwell Properties felt like coming home. I cleaned house, firing Mark's cronies and renegotiating his bad deals. Freed from the drain of his secret life, the business flourished. Profits soared. I had always been the foundation. Now, I was the entire building. That's when I met James. He was the CEO of an investment firm, one of our biggest clients, who came to personally oversee the transition. He was sharp, handsome, and had a quiet confidence that was the polar opposite of Mark's arrogance. He knew exactly what I had done. Our first few meetings were all business, but I noticed the way he looked at me not with pity, but with respect. He saw my mind, my strength. He wasn't impressed by the drama, he was impressed by my strategy. "You didn't just win a divorce," he told me one evening over dinner. "You executed a hostile takeover of your own life. It's the most brilliant thing I've ever seen." Unlike Mark, who saw my intelligence as a threat, James saw it as my greatest asset. He loved my ambition and celebrated my success. A year after I left Mark in the rubble of his life, James and I were married. He was a self-made millionaire, a man whose wealth was built on integrity, not smoke and mirrors. My upgrade wasn't just financial, it was a quantum leap in character, love, and respect. I saw Mark one last time, about 2 years later. I was leaving a gala with James, laughing, my hand on his arm. As our car pulled away, I glanced out the window and saw a man delivering food on a bicycle. He looked haggard and much older. Our eyes met for a split second. It was him. There was no recognition in his eyes, just the dull emptiness of a man who had lost it all. In that moment, I felt nothing. No anger, no pity, not even satisfaction, just nothing. He was a ghost from a life that was no longer mine. They say the best revenge is living well. I used to think that was a cliché. But now I get it. My revenge wasn't just leaving him broke. It was building a life he could never be a part of. It was rediscovering my own worth, not as part of a we, but as a powerful I. Karma isn't some magic force. Sometimes, karma is a choice. It's a meticulously organized binder. It's a well-timed court order. It's the quiet, steady click of a woman taking her power back. He didn't just lose his money. He lost a future he was too foolish to value. And I built a better one on the ruins of his betrayal. What do you think? Is this the ultimate story of karma? Or was the revenge too calculated? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more.